106th episode of the Gutenberg Changelog podcast. In today's episode, we will talk about Gutenberg 19.0, 19.1, WordPress 6.7, and some other stuff. I'm your host, Birgit Pauli-Haack, curator at the Gutenberg Times and a full-time core contributor for the WordPress open source project sponsored by Automatic. With me today as co-host is Jessica Lyschik from Great, core contributor and theme wizard, and one of the people you'll find often in the WordPress outreach channel discussing blog themes and other topics. It's wonderful to have you, Jessica. Thank you for taking the time. How are you today and how was your summer?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Birgit. I'm doing good. My summer was nice so far. It's a bit hot outside, so I'm here in the cool area, so that's all good.
Yeah. I just recently looked at so I'm pretty much also, it's very hot. It's about 29 degrees inside, 31 outside Celsius. And I was just comparing it to Florida because, I lived there for 25 years. And I found that the advantage here in Munich is that in the night, it gets really colder. It kind of cools off about 8 degrees. So I looked at the weather in Florida. They have, even at night, they have 25, 24 degrees. And here we have about 16 or 15 degrees Celsius. So it's all bearable. And a night owl like me can certainly survive this one here.
Yeah, I'm a night owl too. So yeah, that's always, in the evening, it's a bit more chilly. So
yeah. So, Jessica, you have been on the show before. This is your third time. But for our new listeners, would you tell us briefly what you're working on and how you contribute to WordPress?
Yeah, sure. So Birgit has actually introduced me quite well already. So I'm working at Great on their products that enhance not just the blog editor, but also a lot of stuff to improve your workflows in managing a WordPress website. So I do everything from support to bug fixes to new features, like the whole package. And I'm also a WordPress core contributor and have worked on the 2024 default theme last year. So it's now been a year since then. And yeah, apparently I appear way too often on the outreach channel on Slack. And I hope not every time people are rolling their eyes because I have asked another question there.
No, it's quite the opposite, actually. And I just mentioned it because I don't think we talked on this show before on the outreach program that kind of merged into a broader scope than it was with the full site editing. And it's a channel where Nick, Diego, Justin Tadlock, myself, and Ryan Welcher actually hang out on the WordPress Slack to answer questions, connect with extenders that build products on top of WordPress, but also have or no coders that do theme building. And so if you have questions or if you think something isn't right, or if you just wonder, okay, I don't know, is it supposed to work like that? Or is it a bug? And to figure that out, it's very hard to kind of do a bug report when you don't know if it's supposed to work like that or not. So we figure it out together. And so answering questions. So when you come, you actually are part of the feedback loop back to the developers as well, to kind of say, okay, if Jessica is confused, it's confused for other people too. Or you're kind of also an early warning system. Yeah, Jessica the canary. So keep doing what you're doing. It helps you probably both in your work as well as in our work. So, and I want to encourage a lot of other people to come to the channel and kind of hang out. We don't bite. We answer every question and we help you kind of get better at whatever you want to do. So that's why I mentioned it before. It's not.
And I'm the one who asks the most questions, I feel like, ever in this channel. So
sometimes, well, that depends on what you're working on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually true. So sometimes it's like there's a feature we would like to add in our product, and it's like, how is core handling that? Is that actually right, or should this be different? Is that a bug, or is that a bug in our end, like in our product? Mm-hmm. Can we reproduce this with just core default theme and WordPress core itself? And oftentimes it's a bit unsure. Like, is it really supposed to work like that? So I had multiple questions of these, and I got them answered. Oh, I think there was like one or two that were too broad and maybe not in depth from my side, which is totally okay. But in general, I can say there has always been an answer at some point. And if not, then just keep iterating on it. So
Yeah.
keep asking again.
Yeah.
And I think it works very well in the outreach channel. Just also from my perspective as an extender, I think it's super valuable to have this channel. So I can just discuss this intern with my colleagues, and then, okay, we don't know what to do next or where the culprit is. So we can ask core contributors, and maybe other people have ideas. So I have helped out also other people that had questions where I knew the answer to. So I helped them out as well.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not just something that doesn't work right or it's quirky or something like that. It's more like, how do you approach it in working with that particular API? And having multiple voices in one channel actually helps really figuring it out for yourself or for myself, but also gives a better input or feedback on what are the use cases, special features will come in. Like we have new APIs for the plugins that can do templates that are editable in the site editor. We'll talk about it a little later today with 19.1 release. But that is certainly something that needs to be discussed with a few people. There's also a GitHub group. It's called @WordPress/outreach, where about 22 people, extenders, have said, okay, if you ping us with that handle, we are ready to give feedback on certain new features and a discussion on issue on GitHub or on a PR. So I think we can close the feedback loops a little bit, or make the feedback loops a little bit closer and a little bit more interactive during development and even afterwards. So yeah, well, that's a little excursus in the outreach channel. So join us there. You definitely need a Slack account and you need a WordPress.org account. So, but other than that, it's easy access. So we are at the announcements space on this podcast, and it's been a while since our last show with Ellen Bauer. So let's catch up on a few things. So there were 2 more developer hours that happened last month. One was on Hello Blocks, an introduction to block development. It's not about new features. It's about, if you haven't yet started kind of getting into block development, I think Ryan Welsher was there, to how to get started, how to approach it, what are the things to learn. And I think they did a great job in putting that all together. And then we also had one last week. There was the building WordPress themes with the Gray Block theme plugin. And Tammy Lister showed us how she works with that plugin in her theme development process. And it was a great insight also, because she also talked about style variations, what works and what doesn't work and all that. So the recordings are up on YouTube. And of course, we share all the links in the show notes, including the link to the Developer Hours YouTube playlist. So you can kind of go back and listen to the other 25 developer hours that have been done since, I think, last year. Have you listened to any of those developer hours? Not necessarily those 2, but others?
I think I've attended a few in the past. So these 2 were kind of, I'm also already too advanced for this, so I skipped them.
Yeah.
But I think for like new people or people just starting out or not knowing where to start, I think these are pretty good, starter sessions to get into, to learn the vocabulary that we use, and just to see how do things work, and maybe then experiment on top of that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to kind of get into all the different audiences. Yeah, there are low-code people, there are developer people, and so yeah, this is definitely for developers that touch code, and more than for low-code or no-code site builders. There are 2 releases, WordPress releases coming up. There's a minor release, a maintenance release coming up with WordPress 6.6.2. The release candidate 1 is scheduled for September 4th. And the full release is planned for September 10th. And block editor-wise, there's mostly some touch-up on the CSS specificity that came out with 6.6, and got a few sites kind of struggling with that. And though the bugs are coming through, and we share the link to the release post, so you can look up on the track tickets what else is in that maintenance release. And the second release coming up is WordPress 6.7, the major release, and WordPress Beta 1 is scheduled for Tuesday, November 1st. That's
October 1st.
November 1st. I wish. October 1st. Thank you so much for pointing that out for me. It's right there, but the reading and the brain kind of, yeah. It's only 4 weeks away. And the last Gutenberg plugin that's going to push features into that release will be 19.3. So there are 2 more Gutenberg plugin releases to come. And then we know what actually made it into 6.7 release. There's a project board for the editor task. And a couple of weeks ago, there was a hallway hangout with demos of what's next for Gutenberg. And it showed some demos from the developers, how the new tabs block comes along, how a new accordion block comes along, how the image gallery lightbox is supposed to work, then how the UI for custom fields is going to look like with the block bindings together and with the sync patterns overrides. And then there's also a freeform cropping tool that people are working on. I'm not quite sure it's going to make it for 6.7, but it's definitely worth looking at it because it's worlds better than what is there now. And then there were status updates on data views, on the zoomed out mode, on the grid layout, and also on background images for block support. So those are things that we don't have a roadmap for WordPress 6.7 yet. It probably will be published with a source of truth that Anne McCarthy puts out, and there probably won't be a prior WordPress roadmap for WordPress 6.7. So yeah, we'll definitely keep you informed. Anything that stood out for you, Jessica, that you're excited about?
I mean, 6.7 will also ship with a new default theme. So
good point. That was not on the hallway hangout.
Because I think the hallway hangout happened before the introduction post got online.
Yeah.
I think something like that.
You're true.
So
yes.
Yeah, new default theme. So 2024 will have its last days. Nah, just kidding.
No.
2025 will be coming. Yes. Yeah, design is up. The work has already started, and I haven't checked in this week. I was a bit busy, but so far what I've been seeing looks pretty good. It's like progress is made. I mean, they have a few more weeks than we did last year. Last year we had only 4, now they had 7. So they have a bit more time to polish things. But I think overall the design is pretty straightforward. It has some nice features in it, but it's not like too advanced that it super much relies on features to be implemented. I know Carolina has been working on post formats as well.
Yes.
But I don't think that these will make it actually. So I think there's some more feedback needed or some more iterations needed on that. And yeah, but overall the theme just looks great. So
yeah. And dear listeners, we will share the introduction post that was on the Make Core blog. I think it was I'll find it. I didn't put it in the list here. Oversight, I'm sorry. But
no worries. That's why you have me here.
Yes, right. You're more in tune than what happened in the last 4 weeks than I was, because I was on vacation.
Everyone deserves a vacation, so that's fine.
Yeah. So I also saw that Carolina, and we're talking about Carolina Niemark, who was here 2 episodes before on the show, she is also facilitating weekly meetings for contributors to the default 2025 theme, because there is a call for contributors for creating style variations as well as patterns. And so if you want to contribute to that or just see what's happening about it, just follow the core Slack blog for the theme meetings for the default theme. So you know what's up. So we're at the stage what actually was released. And before we go into Gutenberg, let's talk about the Great Block Theme plugin. I'm not sure if you're actually using that because you're more into code and not going from the site editor to your theme and back and forth again. But that's what you can do with Great Block Theme plugin. You can make all the design changes and decisions on a theme. So you can clone a theme, you can start an empty theme from scratch, or you can create a child theme with that plugin directly from your admin for the admin pages or for the site from the site editor. And then you can save the changes that are made through the site editor that are stored in a database, be pulled out into your file system. So being changes for colors or style variations or all that, you can then export it into your theme file system and then use that update kind of so you can use it on a different site as well. That's actually a process that quite a few theme developers use, especially also those that work for Automatic. There was a hallway hangout where Beatrice Fiallo, who also is the designer of the 2025 theme, has demonstrated her workflow from using the site editor to pull in a theme into Playground and then use the plugin to get it out of it into and then push it to GitHub as a pull request. So that was really cool. And you don't need to know code, pretty much. You can all do it through Playground. But the Create Block Theme plugin is sometimes a little bit behind core because all the new features need to land in core and then it needs to be decided, okay, how can block theme, God, is this hard? How
It's all
can
words in one.
Create Block Theme plugin help no coders or theme builders to get everything out again into a theme that is reusable? So there is a new global style JSON data inspector. There's also an update on the black theme JSON. And then the sidebar, because when you install it, it's installed, it has the sidebar in the site editor. But on classic themes, you don't have the sidebar. So it's disabled for classic themes. You can still use it through the admin pages. And now they had to bump up the minimum required WordPress version to 6.6. So if you use that Create Block Theme plugin, I will cluster the links in the show notes with the developer hours, with Tamalista, the link to the plugin, and also to the Hallway Hangout recap, where we have the demo how the plugin, Playground, and GitHub can work together to put it also in version control. Yeah, that was kind of complicated, I thought. I thought it would be easier, but maybe it's just me who made it complicated. All right, Gutenberg 19.0. 206 PRs merged by 50 contributors, including 5 first-time contributors. Fabulous. Yeah, great work. So what's new? Yeah, no fear. We will not read all 206 PRs. We only grab a few of those, as most of you know. Do you want to start, Jessica?
Yeah, I think we can directly start with one of the enhancements, which is format library at alt edit field to inline image, which basically means when you have added an inline image to a paragraph, for example, then you can also now add an alternative text, which was previously not possible. I think there was only like you could adjust the width, but not add anything else. And maybe sometimes it would be helpful to have an alternative text there, especially for accessibility reasons. So yeah, that's actually a really cool change. It's tiny, but it's really helping, definitely.
Yeah, just to clarify, I totally agree with you. It's tiny, but very good enhancement. If the image has an alt text in the media library, it automatically was pulled, but you weren't able to change it. So that's why the alt edit field kind of was added to it. Even so, if somebody uploaded it without an alt text, you couldn't edit it unless going back to the media library and edit it, remove it from the canvas and then put it in again. So this is not
sometimes
so much
it would
easier.
sometimes it would be usable or exactly used in that case to have no alternative text when it's just like something, a visual indicator, so there is no need for an alternative text. But as you said, when you can only change it from what's in the media library, then it makes no sense, because sometimes you would need it and sometimes maybe even not. Now you can really apply an alternative text or not if you don't need it. So you have now both options.
So, decorative imaging doesn't need an alt text, but yes, cool. For the gallery link controls, they are now in the block toolbar. So because the link controls not only has it, you could either put a link on the image, or you can enable the click to increase. And those two things were separated. So you could actually do both. Now you can only do either one of them, which makes sense because if you can only do a one-click action on the image. So that's why those things are now combined, and you find them in the block toolbar and not in the sidebar.
Yeah, that's a pretty good user experience enhancement. So I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
I actually haven't seen this before, but good to have it pointed out.
Yeah. So on the navigation block, the system now hides the overlay menu, that's the mobile menu, if the block is selected, so it gets out of your way. The navigation block gets quite a few incremental changes and improvements, but this one is definitely, and it's all a little bit clustered, and we find in other releases that they're working on is kind of removing or moving stuff around. So the navigation block will have some additional small improvements, quality of life improvements, which are definitely necessary.
Border block support, yay! More posts receive borders, yay! I mean, it sounds super hard, but it's actually like, I don't think where borders started out, which block it was just a couple blocks, but it makes sense to have them at more blocks available because sometimes you want to style a block with borders when your layout needs it, for example. So otherwise you would have to put it in a group before, and now you can just style it on the block itself. Just like you can do in CSS, basically. And I think borders is a really nice example where it makes sense to add it to a lot of blocks. So there are a couple more that got border block support in 19.0. So yeah, mostly like post-related blocks. So post date, post excerpt, post terms, post title. And then we have site tagline, site title, table of contents. I mean, it's not published yet, I think.
Well,
right?
table of contents is in the plugin.
Yeah.
But it's
It's
not
in the
core.
plugin, right? Yeah, it's not in core yet. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think time to read is
same.
time to read in core already?
No.
I'm not sure. No.
No, there were some accessibility issues with time to read, and also the kind of exclusivity. Yeah, kind of, it makes you feel bad when you take longer than the time to read kind of puts out there.
Yeah.
So there was some concerns in that. Both are in the Gutenberg plugin, definitely, but now they have border support. So if you use them in production, it's always kind of interesting. So there were some tweaks on the tag cloud controls and description. They were kind of nice because it's a little bit more organized in the sidebar, and how the design is kind of cleaned up. And it also has the feature, smallest to largest, you can now put the size. It's a little bit more organized and also has a better description. The next one is the list block.
Yeah, the list box seems to got a bunch of improvements there. I'm just trying to figure it out.
Change the numbering style to something much more recognizable, like a list style. And so you can, and then move the style controls up to the start value controls. So it's also kind of the user interface for that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, change the longer title to just for reverse list numbering to just reverse, which would be definitely equally understandable, I hope. And then remove the default background color control to the list item, which is very nice. I like that, because then you can do your own stripe kind of design if you want to. And it changed changed the default icon size to the, 40 pixel. That's something that some of the interface items have a different size than others, and I think the standardized is go for 40 pixels. So yeah,
I have seen this like change now across the changelogs recently, so I think there's some unification there going on to make them all the same size, so okay, where do you expect to click in? That makes totally sense. No, that's actually a pretty good improvement. So it's again just tiny and probably not the next big feature, but it's definitely like user experience improvement. That's cool to see.
Yeah, I think there is there is a Gutenberg polish board that has been around for, I think, 3 versions. And contributors are getting finally a little bit more through that to make all those changes. So I like that there's a kind of revisit some of the design choices and unify them exactly. Yeah. Especially because there are new things coming in, like the data views, and it would be helpful when they were all standardized as well. And one of the features in the Gutenberg 19.0 is additional data views extensibility. So it allows now to unregister permanent delete post actions, or unregister restore post action, or unregister trash post action. That is for site owners or site builders that want to kind of put some guardrails around those data views actions to help the clients not to get lost or
Destroy
save
the
them for
site.
themselves, yeah, destroy their site, yes. So, but it also opens it up. I think it's also coming. If it's not a 19.1, it's definitely a 19.2, is that it opens up that particular piece also for third-party additional bulk actions. So I think that's the way to where it goes, where it's heading.
Yeah, I think we need this also because the true power of WordPress previously, when you use the old style backend, it's like its extensibility. So you could add whatever you needed to like work with whatever plugin functionality was provided. And I think if we lose this, then WordPress will lose its user base, kind of. I mean, that sounds now very harsh, but
no, you're
it's
right.
like a little steps in that direction. And I think when we have this extensibility overall, that when we keep this like it was on the old school WordPress, if you will, then I think that's only the pathway forward. Because what made WordPress so big is the fact that you can make everything out of it. So it's so extensible. There are so many plugins. There's so many functionality you can use with it. And if you just do not allow these things, I mean, I think this is also where people struggle sometimes, where like agencies struggle to get the stuff in, and we struggle great with that sometimes. So the more, the better of extensibility possibilities.
Yeah, as a side note, there is now a tracking issue in Gutenberg repository about the most important extensibility issues for certain areas. And so that would be really great. And I will share the link in the show notes. Would be really great to get more input on each of those issues in terms of use case and why it's really important for a certain use case to have that extensibility feature in there. I will share the link in the show notes, but it's also something that will be more and more also discussed in the outreach channel. So, and it's not so much about the data views, because I think the Gutenberg developers definitely know that the data views will not come to WordPress permanently unless that they are extendable to the same or similar grade as it is now. So one approach is to, should we replicate the hooks and the filters, or should we kind of see, because there is another level there, is the user can also make decisions on certain things. Yeah, so that's why it's really important for the site editor and the block editor to get the extensibility with that in mind. For the data views, it's not that important because the extensibility is a given point, yeah, but it doesn't have the user changing things too much around, except for maybe changing the column or changing the which fields are displayed, all things that haven't been done yet previously to WordPress. So it's coming in additional features, but the extensibility certainly will come back. Yeah, talking about the next thing on the changelog, that's the heading, that's enable heading level curation. So that is a PR where you can, as a developer, give your clients, your site creators, certain headers that you can only use as default. Yeah. So one example is, why do we have the H1 in that list when you're not supposed to have more than one H1 heading on the page, which is now the site title for now default. Yeah. So every other heading should be H2, which works. But then there are other things as well where you say, okay, we can only, for the editor, we can only have H3s because all the other things are dynamically created. So that was definitely one of those extensibility issues for the editor that came out of a conversation with extenders who have hundreds and hundreds of sites on their multi-site system, to give them a way to have additional guardrails for their users, their students, or faculty members.
That's a really good change. I like that.
And with it actually also comes a new option called level option attribute for other core blocks like the post title, the query title, site title, and the site tagline, where you can also control the available heading levels for your custom blocks or your blog variations, if you want to. So
that makes sense to extend that to these blocks as well. Yeah,
because that's where the headings comes in on a dynamic level. That was what comes out of conversations had in the hallway tracks of WordCamp. I think since we have WordCamps now more and more, and these conversations happen quite frequently, and they also make it into core quite rapidly.
That's true.
So what's the next one? I highlighted the radio scale, but I think that's the slider for the border radius. You can now add a scale to it through the components. So that is definitely a developer related thing. So you have radius X small, radius medium, radius large. So you can have presets for your border radius, I think, through the components. That's cool.
Nice.
And do you want to take the select controls?
Well, they seem to be very much technical.
Yeah. Oh, we can kind of skip that. It's
I think
definitely
we can skip that, yeah.
Yeah, it's for developers that use the select control. If you have that in your plugins or products, go back and kind of see how that might change how you work with it. It's all backwards compatible, so don't fear. So the next one, when I'm scrolling, I think we are almost done with 19.0.
I think I highlighted one that I found quite interesting.
Did I skip it?
Probably.
Go ahead.
It's like in the accessibility section. There has been a PR to move the post per page offset and pages controls from the blog toolbar into the expector controls. And we're now talking about the query loop block. So previously you had to, or as of now, you have to, when you want to adjust what the query loop is outputting, the number of posts per page, if there should be an offset and these things, you have that in a block toolbar. And now they got all moved to the settings sidebar. So I think this is a change that probably will leave people confused if they do not hear about it, or they will search for those. Where is that toggle? I need to change the number of posts. And so I just wanted to highlight that one because that's what I stumbled upon as well. And I thought, oh, I mean, it's not a bad change. Makes sense to move them to the sidebar. But if you are not aware of it, that things are moving around, then it might be confusing to hear.
Totally correct to call that out, especially because the sidebar is not automatically opened when you select the block. So you need to have another click and open the sidebar settings for that. And I think it also was moved to the inspector controls, which is the sidebar technical term for sidebar, because there is also additional features are coming for that, and it would be combined with those options for the query loop. Yeah, good point. Thank you so much. And I have another one, and that we talked about it, but I just wanted to see that there is also a hook to allow for the data view extensibility. There's also a hook to allow third-party scripts to register and unregister post type actions. So that is combined with what we previously talked about, the extensibility of the data views. And I think that was it all, the Gutenberg 19.0, and we are moving right into Gutenberg 19.1. So vacation time, you see they had only 178 PRs merged by 46 contributors. The release post is out, and Artemio Morales was the release lead for this one. Let's talk about the enhancements. There are some quick edit actions for the data views.
It just says quick edit actions, but I guess it's related to data views.
Yeah.
in the issues, in the linked issues, it says data views. So
yeah,
yeah,
and
oh my
that
God, so
also,
many changes.
yeah, and the data views, so you don't have to open up the post to change the post status. So you can publish or put it in draft or move it forward or change the date right from the data view list. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's just like replicating what we have or what we are used to from the traditional post overview to like exactly in the data views to like when you see something familiar, it's just get easier to adapt to like the different look, but it works the same when you use it. Of course, under the hood, it's a bit different. But I think the user experience, when it's fairly similar to what we are used to, I think this will be, people will quickly adapt to the new interface.
I totally agree with you. But the interface looks so much more modern, so it's actually delightful.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, and part of the extensibility, again, so there's some great work being done and very push forward. There's also unregistering duplicate post actions, patterns, unregistered duplication from template part actions, or rename or reorder page or view post actions and all that. So you can definitely, as a plugin developer, when you use those data views, you can pretty much make your own defaults for that and use it as you need it for your plugins.
Yeah.
So the image block has a reset button.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting change. It looks, again, one of these tiny changes. But when you have added an image block before and then selected a media, either from your library or from an URL, you could never reset the block to like this initial state where you have this white box with the three buttons. And now you can, because it has added this, or the reset option has been added to, I think where you replace those, where you can replace the media, you can now reset it. So in case you want to change the image to something else, but don't have the new image ready yet, you can just like delete it, but leave the image block as placeholder there. So you know when you come back that you can edit again. I think this is again, a tiny change, but I think could be a great quality of life improvement for many people.
Yeah. You can go back to where you started off, and that's always a good place when you make decisions that like, you have buyer's remorse about, and you can just go back and say, okay.
Yeah, maybe you have changed the aspect ratio or whatever other changes you've made, and you need to start over again. It's now as simple as clicking into a menu element and not having to delete the block and then add a new block again, which is like has more clicks than just resetting it entirely.
Absolutely, yeah. And also staying with the image block, there's now an overlay for the with a text shadow possible for the image. So the caption can be on top of the image instead of underneath if you wanted to, or it's now automatically there. So
yeah, and the background is not as harsh as it used to be. So when you have added the caption to the image, there was always this big black kind of hole or this gradient that was kind of in your face and kind of probably did not match many layouts, I guess. So that's probably why people didn't use it. And now it's still there, but it's much lighter and it's not that harsh at the bottom of the image.
Yeah. There's an art in painting. Yeah, there is this kind of don't use the black thing, because it kind of burns a hole in your canvas for a person that is going to look at it. That's a similar design move there, to not be so harsh on certain backgrounds.
Yeah, we have some updates to other blocks. I think highlighting the quote block first is, I think, something interesting. So the quote block didn't have alignment controls. So you couldn't left align, right align, center width, full width, and wide width.
Right. Yeah. It was the align width. It was the full width and align wide width that wasn't available. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think this has something to do also with the pull quote block, from what I roughly remember. But yeah, you can now fully align this to whatever you need the quote block to. I especially like that it's like left and right alignable. So you have that in the text, you have this quote block and then the text floats around it. I think this can be very useful. So it's not here's an entire block splitting up your content, but it's actually a bit more usable. in this case.
Yeah, I really like the right or left alignment, because you can pull out some of the quotes from a text and make it a little bit more stand out instead of just using a subheader or something like that. So yeah, pretty cool. Yeah. And now we get some more border support for
Yay, even more.
for even more blocks. Yeah. So all the comment blocks, comment author, content, and date have now border controls, as does the post author, bio, name, and the full author kind of parent block. And then the query title, so in the query loop, the title can have borders. For the file block, the list items block, that is actually pretty cool, because then now you can do underlined line items. That's really cool. And then,
Or
of
like
course,
alternating it with the background, like to have also distinct border, then not just the background color, but also have a distinct border in between. Oh, that's very nice.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you can do it also on the full list. Yeah, kind of let it stand out and have a border. Also for the pre-formatted block and the tag cloud, they all have now border support in the Gutenberg plugin with the 19.1 release. This release also has a few updates for the zoomed out feature. I don't know, have you tried the zoom out feature yet?
Not yet. So I've been seeing things around, but I haven't really gotten into like testing it out yet.
So when you use patterns, it will click on a pattern. It now can recede the whole canvas into a full page view, so to speak. That's the zoomed out one. There's also a zoomed out. I don't know exactly when that happened. Sometimes it's triggered. And now there is a drop down also on where you do the preview and the mobile and the preview and new tab. There's also a new drop down on the zoomed out or zoom in. So you can see, okay, when I want to put in a new section, how does that change my whole feel for the whole page? And that's actually a great feature, but it has a few pitfalls. Yeah, like, can I edit when I'm in that mode? Yeah, and so the block insertion points needed to be kind of handled differently, clear out or selected or changed when you select a different block or section. And then the default inserter to the patterns tab when in zoom out. Okay, so you will see when you in zoomed out mode and you click on the inserter, you first see the pattern displayed, because there is the idea that if you are in zoomed out mode, you want to add bigger sections and you need a bigger view on that. Yeah, it's kind of those assumptions all need to be tested. So it would be really cool to have more testing being done and get some more opinions and feedback about it, how that changes your flow when you work it on a day-to-day basis. And there is actually a call for testing out for that by Anne McCarthy. No, she has block binding, sorry. Well, she definitely wants you to test this in the outreach channel. She posted that. So get on it, Jessica.
Yeah, I guess I'm not so sure. The next 2 weeks will be a bit tough. So
Yeah.
probably after WordCamp US, maybe.
Yeah.
Where I think it will be almost too late to actually test this, but
I'm not sure it's gonna make it to 6.7. There is a full push for it to get it in 0.7, but I'm kind of, I don't know yet. Or we don't know yet. Or I have
it's a
not
pretty
seen
big feature, like the whole
right.
zoom out thing, right? So it's one of those things that probably will need another iteration before they land in core.
Yeah,
That would
definitely.
be,
Yeah.
I think this is the way to go.
Yeah, I feel that too. But we'll see. Yeah, kind of. Because you can't scale it down to say, okay, I have a minimum viable product, kind of, and then iterate on it. Yeah, if it disrupts your workflow too much, you can't go back. Yeah, and then you have some backwards compatibility of something that you didn't want.
Yeah. That's
Being on
true.
the conscious side is definitely something that we learned with the whole Gutenberg releases. Yeah.
I mean, as you said, it works better with some other features that are just small steps, so that the iterations happen in small steps and they are not disturbing the actual workflow that people are already using. So this would be one of those things that if you put it in, things would change immediately for people, and they have no chance to look into it or get used to it. Probably not even deactivate it if possible. So
possible, yes. And there's also the surprise factor will not as intuitive as you want it to be. Sometimes you get some new feature and said, oh, that is cool. Yeah, to kind of, it triggers and you say, oh, that's new. Yeah, and I like it. Most of the time it's kind of, oh, what happened? Did I do something?
this disrupts my workflow. So
yeah.
that's always the not so good option you want to go for.
Yeah. So true, so true. Yes. And then we come to one of the biggest features landed in Gutenberg 19.1 that a lot of people have been waiting for since block themes came out in 2022. No, in 2020. We first talked about block themes. And I know because I had the early Carolina Niemock and Anders Noren and yeah, even a developer kind of on the Gutenberg Live Q&A. But yeah, so the feature is how plugin can create templates that are editable in the site editor. And the API has landed right now with 19.1 in Gutenberg. And almost immediately, well, Justin Tadlock was working with a release candidate, and he published a tutorial on how plugin developers can work with it or start at least experimenting with it on the developer blog. It's called Registering Block Templates via Plugins in WordPress 6.7. And it's definitely worth getting to know that features now, because now it can be, issues can be filed, bug reports can be filed. So definitely get into it when you're interested in that. He has an example on where you do custom post types and custom fields for a book custom post type, and then shows how to create the single book and then the archive book template, and as well as the custom templates that you can offer for changing the single post book or something like that. Yeah. So there will also be on September 10th, 1500 UTC, that's 9 a.m. Eastern and 1700 European Central. No,
it will be 11 Eastern.
11 Eastern, yes, I make that mistake all the time. Time zones, the bane of my existence. So 11, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, and 5 p.m. in Central Europe. There's a developer hangout, a first look at the template registration API. You can RSVP via the WordPress online meetup group. And if you get the chance to look at the tutorial, you can also bring your questions. Yeah. So I like that combination of, okay, there's an API in Gutenberg, we have a developer blog post about it on how to use it, and then we offer developer hours to it. So that's a great way to roll out a feature that a lot of people have waited for and to integrate it into their plugins.
It's a full package, and I definitely need to look into it because that's very interesting, especially if you're like registering custom post types in some sort. And then imagine you have whatever plugin you're using, if you're using a plugin to register post types, and then the plugin is able to provide you with a template or various templates. Or if you have specific templates, you can already tie that templates to the post type. And when you register them, you can just go into the editor, no other fuss included, no child theme where you need to throw in any other template files essentially, and just start editing from there. I think that's a pretty nice feature.
It's a pretty feature. Yeah, it's something that hasn't been done in WordPress before, and it was not so easy for plugin developers to get it right the first place, even with classic themes. Yeah, so this is definitely a move forward, and it could entice some of the plugin developers that haven't been migrating to the block editor yet entirely to kind of rethink that piece, because it's probably easier to do it now with that without having to create custom blocks or anything. I read through the tutorial. It seems to be pretty straightforward, and especially when you are already familiar with block themes and patterns and all that, that definitely.
Yeah, that's definitely on my to-do list for next week to check that out, because that's a really interesting thing also for like us at Grade to provide additional templates for whatever you needed, have custom ideas. So that's actually pretty neat. Or maybe even just blank templates registering. So you can, let's say you add a post type and then have a checkbox somewhere that says add template to site editor. And then you check that box, save it, and then go directly to the site editor and have an empty template there without having to go through this template creation process within the site editor. It just takes away a couple steps, but it makes it so smoother in creation for the post types. So that would be pretty
And you
nice.
probably could even find out what's the overall header and footer. And so you don't have an empty template, you just have a template with the rest of the site already kind of filled in. Oh yeah, kind of might be something to think about. Yeah, so that's the big feature, new feature right now. It's the first iteration of the API, so any feedback would be absolutely helpful. If there are bug reports, put them in the GitHub issue. If you want to discuss it with other people, go to the developer hours and discuss it, and then we'll figure out, or they figure out, if there are some additional iterations necessary or feature requests. Also join us in the outreach channel to discuss some of the things. Moving on the 19.1, do we have more?
I think that's it.
That's it?
Don't see any more.
All right. I had one thing in the documentation part because, oh, you're right. Yeah, the interactivity API has additional documentation, and it's more on the basis of fundamentals. So it explains 3 core concepts of the interactivity API in more depth. So people who had problems to kind of figure out what the interactivity API is for and how it actually works can kind of consult the new pages in the documentation and hopefully get more clarity on it. Excellent. Yeah, so thank you so much, Jessica, for going with me through the 2 changelogs for 2 plugins. I have one more thing, and that is what it's an active development, and that touches on the collaboration effort on WordPress, so more people can comment inline on the block editor about content. And I share the issue with that. That's issue 59445 if you want to grab it. Of course, the link is in the show notes, but the issue was just updated with some mock-ups on how this is supposed to work. There's also a PR 60622 that you can definitely put into Playground and experiment with it. But the mock-ups are really nice. You can have inline comments per block, and then see also in the sidebar, it's an overlay to the sidebar, who has with the comments for that particular block. That's kind of neat. Check it out if you want to test the PR. It's not merged yet. You would need to use the Playground and punch in the number. The number 60, what was it? 60,
somewhere in the middle, yeah.
60622. And then I'll share the link in the show notes to the directly to the Playground space where you can, with the PR installed, so you can test it. But it's definitely something I'm really excited about, because when you're working on you can kind of take away the Google Docs commenting thing and just edit or write directly in the block editor and have additional people kind of comment on it. That's really cool. And
yeah, that's definitely an interesting thing to. I would be interested if it's actually possible that 2 people can already see a blog post.
Yeah, that's part of it. Yes.
Yeah, I guess so. So it would make sense. I mean, you can do it asynchronous, but I think doing it like seeing someone, just like in a Google Doc, seeing someone editing stuff, and then you can comment on it. I think that's a very interesting way forward.
Yeah.
To work with WordPress.
When the core contributors are working on so many things, and this section, our podcast, kind of always points out some of the things that would be interesting to get an early view on it, to get feedback on it, or even kind of figure out if that fits in your workflow for content creation or even in development. All right. Yeah, we are at the end of the show. And
Already.
yeah, well, already is good. Yeah. We've talked about quite a few things today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Is there anything that you would want to talk about that you didn't get a word in, kind of thing, because I'm kind of rambling on?
No, I mean, I mentioned the default theme, so
Yes,
I think
absolutely cool.
that's probably also one of the interesting things for 6.7, or what's currently going on in the WordPress core contribution world. So
yeah, September 10th, 1500 UTC, the next developer hours is happening on the template plugins. That's just a little reminder for those that listen to this end. As always, the show notes will be published on gutenbergtimes.com/podcast. As mentioned, this is the 106th episode. And if you have questions or suggestions or news you want us to include, send them to changelog@gutenbergtimes.com. That's the changelog@gutenbergtimes.com. So thank you all for listening, and welcome all the new listeners that we gathered in the last 4 weeks. Thank you, Jessica. If people want to get in touch with you, how can they reach you or find you online?
So I guess easiest is Twitter or X, if you call it. I would still call it Twitter anyway.
Yeah, me too.
It's Jessica Lyschik, just my full name on there. Or find me on Slack under @Jessica. That's probably where you can reach me the easiest.
That's a WordPress Slack, right?
WordPress Slack, yes, exactly.
Yeah. Wonderful. That's it. Until the next time. Goodbye.
Bye.